who have been oppressed and fight upon their behalf. I will give you an example. There is a book that came out last year, and the name of the book is slipping my mind, but it will come back to me, God willing. But there is a book, and this has been chronicled not only in North Africa, but also in Albania. During the rise of fascism, there were Nazis that came through, and fascists that came through North Africa during the Holocaust, rounding up Jews to want to take Jews in custody and to take them back to the concentration camps of Eastern Europe. And there were Jews in certain areas, like in Tunisia, for example, and Libya, who sought refuge in the households, in the farmhouses of Muslims, and in mosques. And some of them even masqueraded as Muslims, and they were outwardly protected by Muslims against the fascists. This protection that Muslims used in North Africa at the risk of their own lives to protect Jews from being slaughtered, rounded up, this was a form of jihad. Now this is outward jihad. This is called el-jihad al-asghar. This is the lesser jihad. The greater jihad is called el-jihad al-akbar in the Arabic language. The greater jihad, el-jihad al-akbar. The Prophet Muhammad, with his companions, they had just left a major battle. The Muslims were embattled in their early history. They were attacked by Arabs, who were polytheists. They were also attacked by Romans, and there were also some renegade Jewish tribes in the area who had made political treaties with Muslims but broke their treaties and sided with the enemies of the Muslims. Anyway, after one of the battles in which the Muslims won, and they conquered those who fought against them and sought to take away their property and their dignity, those people who expelled them from their homes, the Muslims won at the end of the day. And the Prophet Muhammad said to his companions, "You are now leaving the lesser jihad for the greater jihad." And his companions didn't really understand what the Prophet Muhammad was saying, because the enemy had basically been subdued. And there was a lot of bloodshed. And in those times, the fighters of those times were men. They weren't sissies. They weren't fighting a type of warfare as fought today, where a person could be a coward and touch a button and shoot a missile and kill thousands of people. This was hand-to-hand combat in those days. Mortal combat with swords, bows and arrows. So they asked, what is the greater jihad? What is greater than this? Prophet Muhammad responded to them, jihad al-nafs. And jihad al-nafs in the Arabic language means the struggle of self. It means when a human being struggles within inside of their own selves against sin, corruption, and oppression, this is the greater jihad. This is the day-to-day jihad that all Muslims, or for that matter, all spiritual people, go into every day. For example, if you were running a business dealing with a lot of cash, and you're counting the money, and you're the only one counting the money for this business, and you're not the owner, and let's say you count $10,000, and there's no cameras and no one watching you, and there's a thought that comes into your mind or to your spirit that says, well, if I take $500 out of this $10,000, the owner's not going to miss that $500. And if your consciousness, if your ethics struggle against that lower suggestion, then you have just engaged in jihad al-nafs, of struggling with inside your inner self against sin and corruption. And this is what Muslims understand as jihad. Jihad is not merely one picking up a gun. Jihad is not someone, as we have been shown in the media, yelling Allahu Akbar and blowing themselves up. That is not jihad. That is corruption, that is criminality. And for that matter, simplify for you or to clarify. Allahu Akbar simply means in the Arabic language, God is great, or God is greater, literally. Meaning that God is greater than his entire creation, and God is greater than any thought you can attribute to him in his mind. So in our prayers, we say Allahu Akbar. Sometimes when something goes good for us, and we are happy about it, we say Allahu Akbar. So when you hear Muslims say Allahu Akbar, you don't have to get nervous, like how, unfortunately, with those 6 flying imams were flying from Minnesota back to Arizona, and some people thought they heard them say Allahu Akbar, and they thought out of their lack of knowledge that they were plotting some type of terrorist attack. Also, to clarify for you, the term that would mean holy war in the Arabic language would be al-harb al-muqaddasa. That term would mean holy war in Arabic language, but that term does not exist in the Quran, in the prophetic traditions of Prophet Muhammad, or any of our religious books. You cannot find this term one time, al-harb al-muqaddasa. So I challenge anyone, go into the Islamic text and scripture and find for me the term holy war. You will not find it. It does not exist. 2 more. 5 top Muslim scholars have not denounced terrorism and the attacks of 9/11. Although there are specific aspects of terrorism that can be read within the Quran and the prophetic traditions that would lead a rational, sane Muslim not to commit an act of terrorism, there are religious verdicts or decrees called fatwa that have been issued specifically against terrorism, both here and abroad. The most prestigious Islamic university on the face of this earth is in Cairo, Egypt. It's the oldest. It's called Al-Azhar University. And the top scholar of this school, university, is called Sheikh At-Tantawi. Directly after 9/11, he issued a fatwa, or religious decree, condemning specifically the attacks of 9/11 and condemning Osama bin Laden. The major Shia scholars within the Islamic world, one of the top ones being Ayatollah Sistani, put out fatwa condemning 9/11, condemning Osama bin Laden, and going as far as saying that he has left the fold of Islam. You shouldn't even consider him a Muslim. These religious verdicts have been put out and are very clear and are known to most Muslims, but for some reason, these decrees or verdicts have not been seen or distributed within American media. If you were to go to Islamic history professor, a tenured professor at the University of Michigan named Juan Cole, and you were to go on his blog site, juancole.com, informed comment, you could actually read the different religious verdicts of international Islamic scholars that have denounced terrorism and have denounced Osama bin Laden. So it's a myth to say that Muslims never denounced internationally terrorism, 9/11, and Osama bin Laden. That's not true. Our organization, the Council on American Islamic Relations, issued or organized a fatwa with a group called the Fiqh Council of North America, a jurisprudence council of the top scholars in North America that clearly defined what is terrorism, went through each point of what is terrorist acts, and gave a religious decree stating its impermissibility to involve oneself in any of these terrorist acts. This can be found on CAIR.com, CAIR.com. That did receive minimal media attention, but it received more international attention, actually, than domestic media attention. So terrorism has been denounced. Now, I will tie this into point 6, and then I will open up for questions. 6, that the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is a war between Islam and Judaism. If you were to read the 1400-year history of Muslim-Jewish relations, and you read this same history, going close to 2,000 years, of the history between Christendom and Jews, you will find